Recording in progress.
Do you remember why it's called the Roman connection?
No.
Okay, good, because I don't either, and I was a little worried.
No.
Hello, and welcome to Onesies, a podcast of one-season wonders and blunders. My name's Andrew.
My name is Emily.
And we are almost done with 1983's chess. Why are you shaking your head? Is it not? It is 1983.
Yeah, it is.
Well, it's not 1983 anymore. It used to be 1983.
The episode came out.
Yes.
When the episode came out, it was 1983.
It was 1983. And back then, Terence Stamp was very happy at the idea that people from across the British Empire were finding success regardless of the color of their skin. He's changed since then.
I told you, his only wife, the only wife he's ever had is like not white, not European, not wholly European. I forget exactly what she is, but she's not.
And he divorced her after Brexit or before?
It was before, but I think she divorced him because of his troubling behavior. As a 60-something-year-old man, he's still...
Well, he's got to be in his 80s now. Come on, man. Mm-hmm. Terence Stamp? Yeah.
Yeah, but they got divorced when he was in his 60s.
Okay. Not like Tony Randall died, right? Anyway, old men and their young wives. We'll be talking about that for the rest of this show until, I don't know, old men and their young wives stop being a thing, which probably won't be in our lifetimes. So we are talking about Chessgame, episode 5, the Roman connection, which is the start of a new story arc, our last story arc. It is a very different thing. My notes start with, is this Sherlock Holmes? But do you have 3 things that you want to...
Do I? The distinctive smell of boys' bodies. Feminine wiles. And smoking out child predators. Those are literally the only 3 things I have written down.
Do you mean the persistent smell of boys' bodies?
Maybe, yeah.
Okay, well, what about your bath scene? You need your bath scene.
Oh, boy. Well, I figured I'd leave something for you. How about that? That was really unsettling to me, and I was glad when it was over. The bath scene.
Oh, we actually get to talk about old men and their young wives, because that's actually a plot point in the episode. So we can talk about that. Svelte hips will be my keyword for that. Glamour, a world problem, because even though we don't have racism, we've got some amazing, body appearance shaming, and then, sorry, you're gonna have to edit that out. I'm sorry.
Maybe.
I tried to mute it.
It's fine. It's fine.
Wow. Then I'm just gonna sip my ice cream drink, and you can just leave it in with the echo for everybody. I can't imagine why you didn't get Starbuck to guest star on the pod. Okay. Do you know who that is? You don't know who that is.
She's from
Katie Sackhoff from Song Pablo.
Yeah, from Battlestar Galactica. That's her character. Oh, I'm unbelievable. I remembered a thing, so I'm celebrating myself for remembering a thing.
This is Britain. There's bopping? What was that? We'll talk about the music.
Okay.
Is the music. So we'll talk, because there is a lot of music stuff to talk about with this. But yeah, so the episode opens like a Sherlock Holmes. It's really weird.
I was
watching the wrong thing.
I thought my husband was being featured with those eyebrows. Oh, spitting out your ice cream drink. Dang. I made you laugh.
It's entirely possible he listens to the podcast. He could be one of our illustrious listeners.
He would never. And if he does, so be it. I give him shit for his eyebrows.
Yeah, so it opens with this old British guy in voiceover talking about some guy named Neil Smith, who's really named Pavel Shashenko or something.
Yeah.
And you're just like, what is even happening? And then it's intercut with footage of this guy driving, or is it the police investigation?
It's the police investigation.
Yeah, so what has happened, we soon piece together. is that this guy had a student who killed himself, we think, by driving off of a bridge on his motorcycle, even though it was posted, don't drive off this bridge on your motorcycle. And a professor at Oxford knows him. He's at Oxford. But then this guy discovers he's really a Russian spy slash Soviet national.
Yeah.
Or whatever they were called. And he's been living a lie at Oxford. So this is going to bring David to his old stomping grounds. But first, we're going to have Nick, the Raiders of the Lost Ark guy, do an investigation on his own that ends with us discovering since the last episode, he's now subordinate to Terence Stamp.
Which is hilarious to me.
Which is very weird.
Yeah.
I'm like, how did he get this promotion? Like,
there's no explanation. They don't even really mention it. You just happen to notice that he's taking orders from David.
Mm-hmm. Like, how can David be giving orders? Like, he didn't know shit 4 episodes ago, and now he's spy master.
He's the spy master, ordering people around, sending out his wife to do his dirty business.
Yes, having his wife use her feminine wiles to do investigation, because they don't have any field agents who work for MI5 that are women yet, because why would you need that? Like, patriarchy's fucked up, but it's really fucked up.
I love that Faith is like, you're a fucking bastard for making me do this. But okay, bye. That was cute. That was real cute.
When she calls him a pig later.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that'll be in the scene where we talk about old men and young women, where an acquaintance of Faith's gives her shit for marrying an old man. Like,
yeah.
You're just waiting for her to be like, daddy issues. Weird. But yes, so we get this investigation into the accident. David does not show up for quite a while.
Yeah.
Hugh seems like he's left the show at this point. And so, yeah, David goes and talks to his old chum about the accident. And the bushy eyebrows professor's name is Hobb, I believe. And he is convinced that the Russians are running the best and brightest of Britain's future out of Oxford. They're discrediting them, which is going to affect the future of Britain as a thinking country. Now, I want you to remember, this took place in 1983, and in 20-whatever, they had Boris Johnson. So this could be a true story. We're not spies. What happens if the coming men never arrive?
Yeah.
Really missing the chance for what happens if the coming men never come. But
well, it is Britain.
Speaking of, that's when we get to the scene with David and the old man, where David's like, oh, they're a bunch of foreign-born people. And the old man's like, well, this is Britain. They can make it anywhere, or something like.
Even the old man doesn't agree with Terence Stamp.
Yeah. But then David talks to himself a lot in this one, too, I noticed.
Yeah.
Because when you don't have anybody who's smarter than you, you need to.
You can only talk to yourself. Give yourself an exposition dump. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The old man's like, I don't know, David. Why are you asking those questions? Those are the things you should be figuring out, not telling me you're going to figure out.
Yeah.
And they both look at the camera and wink. It's Police Squad, basically. Basically, this is Police Squad. Then David and Nick go for a long walk on the stairs, which seemed kind of cruel that they make those guys walk all those stairs. A lot of stairs. Oh, and then it's Nick at the clockman's house.
So, yeah, I didn't understand who this guy was, but he sends Nick on this weird, like somehow this old man knows secret entrances into boys' locker rooms at boys' schools. And this is my first point of distinctive smell of boys. You'll recognize it by the distinctive smell of boys. And it's like, ew. Like, I know that, like, teenagers, because I am around a lot of teenagers, have an odor about them. And I never understand how I, as a teenager, was attracted to teenage boys because they're gross. But that really creeped me out. They said he's like not scaling walls or anything, but he's like running through gardens along fences, and he like opens up some vent in a locker room and crawls through the window in a locker room and ends up, I don't know. In my mind, it just cuts to him like in somebody's closet looking through papers. I was like, let's stop stalking young boys and get back to being a spy. I don't quite know what happened there. Until later he says, like, oh, I was reading up on this Neil kid.
Yes. So this is the dead Pavel Shyakov's / Neil Smith's British boys' school, where he went and learned all those important things that British young men learn.
It's Eton,
I believe, yes. But yes,
we'll come back to Eton because that's a big deal, and like Eton's kind of like the school, and the one kid later, Dan, is like, "Oh, you've heard of it," and it's like, "What?" Yeah, fucking weirdo. Anyway, yeah, so he's just like sneaking into the school, but it looks like he's in a boy's closet. It doesn't look like he's looking through teacher files. It looks like he's hiding in some young man's closet.
He sneaks in like through the locker rooms or whatever, and then goes up to the caretaker's attic where he finds old yearbooks.
So the caretaker is stealing things from the young boys?
Unclear.
So weird. It's so weird and creepy. Okay.
We need to be very careful what we say about British boys' schools, because any minute we're going to find out a lot of things about British boys' schools. That we
yeah.
It's not just that they're raised to be little rapists. It's also, okay. Moving on.
And that goes right into my next point about smoking out child predators. Are you moving? Is there an intercut? Is it a weird thing where David then goes home to meet his wife? Because I've got feminine wiles before smoking out child predators.
That's true. Yes, they go home. Is that you, David? The weird print. Hold on. We need. This should have been a point. Hold on. I got a picture of this for you. I want you to tell me what I'm looking at here. Did you notice this?
I didn't notice it. Is that James Bond? What is that supposed to be?
No, it is a picture of a shirt on a hanger holding a handgun. And it is in David and Faith's house. And it is very weird.
Weird.
So David is home early. You get a little bit of nudity for you, Emily.
Little side boob.
Before they fuck in the bath. Because they're going to fuck in the bath.
So there's this prolonged scene where they're having a conversation, but I could barely keep track of it because I was so uncomfortable, where she is in the bath cleaning herself with a sponge, and David is just watching her. Like, just watching her for seemed like an hour. It was so uncomfortable. I get it, they're married, but he was just watching her.
But he's telling her he's got to go back to Oxford.
But
and then he's like, mind if I join you? And she's like, I only exist for your pleasure. He's like, damn right. Hashtag Britain.
Also, it seemed like a very uncomfortable place to have sex, in a bathtub.
You forget that their first time was in his like weird little church hole.
Yeah, but she could get like a UTI. Don't have sex in water. You can get a UTI. That's bad.
That's part 5. That's what happens in next episode. No, next episode, Hugh's got a UTI and it's very uncomfortable. Okay. But this is where we cut to the fire at the boys' school. Someone has set a fire.
So this was my smoking out child predators, because Nick somehow realizes there's a fire. Maybe he sees smoke. I don't remember. And then he's, again, too long. He would have died of smoke inhalation, I would have thought. Digs his way out. Like, he's literally pulling up floorboards to escape this fire to go down.
He pulls up the floor, which is a good thing. Like, that's something to remember for next time.
Yeah.
He forgets the fire, so it's destroyed.
Yeah.
He's a spy master, too. Okay. We also get some of the very weird music of the episode, which I refer to at this point as cheap 80s cheap jazz school. But then we cut back to post-coital bathtub, where feminine wiles come up because can you go to the Oxford Women's College's Faith and snoop around there? And she's like, and he's like, if you can handle it, if you can manage it. And she's like, but I've got no authority, David. And he's like, you don't need authority. You've got feminine wiles. And this is where she calls him a bastard.
Yeah.
And he is. She is a bastard. And you're just kind of like, okay. Because at this point, we haven't seen Hugh again. So we don't know how far we are from the last adventure. After the first 4 episodes being very interconnected, this is an entirely new story. It's from the case book of David Audley.
Yeah.
Okay. So then there's so Nick gets out, sees somebody run, the guy who started the fire running, chases after him with some silly chase music on foot. But it's okay because the fire truck's on, and the guy.
But this is a great scene because this is before like they made it look cool to be chasing people, because Nick is like all awkward and gangly and like running like through a field chasing after the guy, and then the guy gets into a car and the car drives away and he says something to him, and I thought he meant Roskill. I thought it was Hugh at first, because whatever he said, whatever he hollered to the car as it drove past him, I thought it was Roskill, whatever. I thought that's who it was, and I was like, what the fuck? And then the fire department comes, and there's a big explosion of some kind, and the guy goes off the road, and you see his brains on the windshield, which is pretty cool. But then there's a puppy dog in the back that they have to rescue.
That's the end of part 1.
That's the end of part 1.
Okay, now in part 2, this is very confusing. So the driver is a mystery man. He doesn't have any prints or something. So that is not anything we're going to be dealing with, I don't think, the rest of this episode. That's the Roman connection. You don't get to know what that is. Instead, we find out that Neil H. Smith was born in North Ireland and like went to New Zealand or something and then came back. But he died in Ireland. And can we please have Nick figure out what's going on by going undercover? And Nick is like, this is not my job. 2 episodes ago, I was in charge of this whole department.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, you need to go to an archaeology lecture. So we then cut to the archaeology lecture, which involves, so like Nick only ends up being at the archaeology lecture to help legitimize David. Is that what happens?
So he got an invite to this castle with this other professor who only invites the brightest students to come help them do some archaeological dig. So they're hoping to find some connection between all of the bright kids who are like being brought down by whatever scheme the Russians have or whoever has. They just assume, again, this is my point from last time, where they're just making these wild assumptions. Like, oh, well, if the best and brightest kids go to this castle to help dig over the summer, then those are the kids who are going to be targeted because they're trying to, destroy the future of Britain by bringing down the brightest students so they don't have a future, right? So that's literally, I think, all it is trying to get an invite to this castle. And then David, I mean, they don't ever go to it on this episode. Maybe the next one, they'll go and try to figure out.
Because David has been there. We miss that entirely. When he meets that blondie and her friend at the end, he met her, or he didn't meet her at the castle, but they could have met at the castle. But then, yes, so we get set up that David is going to visit this castle and he's going to see the students or something, blah, blah, blah. But then the next scene is where he goes to visit Hugh in the hospital.
Oh, yes.
Hugh is recovering from his shot last episode. His leg is on the mend. He almost lost it, but it's on the mend. And this is where David's like, I need your help. And he's like, I can't help you. I'm a cripple.
I'm a cripple.
And David's like, I know, but I've even had to send my wife out. And it's like, what? It's like, yeah, you have to go keep an eye on her.
A loyal man is hard to find, he says.
So, and this is where he also is like, well, you and Faith got on rather well.
Yeah, so Faith comes in, and
right. She comes to
visit, and she sits down next to Hugh, and Hugh is feeding her grapes. Now, I have been known to not really do really well on social cues and what's appropriate and what's not. If they're doing that in front of David, they've done that before in front of David and gotten away with it. But David seems surprised and says, oh, yes, I heard that you two got on well. But he keeps feeding her grapes after that. It's very odd. It's very uncomfortable. And it's a throuple waiting to happen, even though I thought it already happened.
I thought it already happened. Yeah. So Faith wants to hang out and visit. David's like, you've got the car. You need to drive me around. Let's go.
So I think I told you this when I read the first book. He's oddly is concerned that Faith is closer in age to not Robin Sachs, to Robin Sachs's character, to Hugh, and is like a little bit jealous. There's a little bit of jealousy. So I think this is that coming through. It's like, nope, you're coming with me. We're going away. You're coming with me.
Also, she's got the car, so he can't leave without her. But then he tells her that she needs to track down a girl named Abigail West. She's going to meet Gene Sherman, who used to know him while he was at Oxford.
Mm-hmm.
He does not give her a kiss goodbye when she drops him off. He's like, I'll just see you tomorrow night.
I think that he's mad. I think that he's jealous, and he is mad.
So then David goes to a phone booth and calls for a G17 on Gene Sherman, who is Faith's new contact. G17 is that background check we established last episode before. But then it cuts to Gene and Faith hanging out, eating some ice cream and talking about how it's a shock that you're married to David Audley because you're young, and we all thought you poor child, and we're surprised you like older men. And what attracted you to David? Was it his blue eyes, mean look, or svelte hips? So it's weird because it's like we're just talking shit about the lead of our show.
Yeah.
And then this is where she's like, I don't want to do this, but he's such a pig. I want to prove him wrong. I'm just like, this is a great, you're doing great in your first month of marriage here.
Yeah. And also does not pass the Bechdel test. All they can do is talk about him.
You think you can talk about anything with your lady friends who have names except for Terence Stamp? I don't think so. Okay, so then do we have Faith in great danger without realizing it? Or yes, we do. Faith goes to somebody's house, changes the number from 69 to 66, and lets herself in.
Yeah.
Which does not seem like a smart thing to be doing. And
it's the end of part 2.
And part 3 is only 10 minutes. So when I saw that, I was like, okay, so this is definitely getting resolved next episode.
Yeah.
She lets herself in.
And is met by some like weird hippie girl who seems very culty in that room. It's very weird. Led into another room where there's a guy who's blind, and you can tell he's blind because he's got white contacts in. And a nice suit, and then just like other people just around staring at her. It's very awkward and uncomfortable, and it looks like some weird Jean-Luc Godard movie where everything's white and everybody's just laying around. It's really creepy. I thought she was in a sex cult. all of a sudden.
I thought she was in definite trouble, but we don't get anybody's name. But this is Abigail's. Oh, Angel is the name of the girl, possibly, or she's just an angel. But yes, so this is Abigail's West's flat. She has given these people permission to be here, and the key. The blind guy has the key around his neck, which is a weird flex.
Yeah.
But Faith's like, well, I'm not going to stay. Must dash.
But she legitimately looks scared, and they are like, you're scared.
Very obviously terrified.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, no, I'm just frustrated. This just sucks. Should have been like, my stupid husband asked me to come here.
I've been looking.
Do your own job.
But no, she's like, I've been looking for this girl all over the place. She's been missing lectures. I'm just really worried about her. And now I come into her flat and find all you fucking weirdos just standing around. You're not watching TV. You're not listening to the radio. You're literally just standing around in a like weird tableau. Very odd.
Very weird. So then when Faith leaves, we see that Hugh has been following her and she catches him.
Yes.
And she's like, whose idea was it for you to follow? And he's like, well, it was David's idea. And she's like, well, I might have known, Hugh. I don't need a nursemaid. Definitely not a peg-legged invalid hobbling along after me. Get lost.
I love you dearly, but get lost. I was like, ooh.
She's just left a situation where she was in potential danger, and she has now told her backup to fuck off.
Mm-hmm.
This bodes well. And now we cut to David in an Oxford college bar, where a woman who is, what's the word I'm looking for here? Homely? Is that the word? Young woman who is not very glamorous is reading a book called Glamour, A World Problem. It has nothing to do with the episode. It has nothing to do with the scene. It is literally just them being like, girls, we don't want to fuck. We got to
feminists.
It sucks.
Feminazis, huh? Ew.
Ew. They've even got them at Harvard, don't you know? Okay, so this is where David meets some friend of the dead guy's named Polly, who had something to do with that castle. I thought she was the professor's daughter, but maybe not.
I didn't catch exactly what her relationship was, but she had been at the castle. She did know the dead guy. She very clearly had a deep affection for him in her description, and I forget exactly what it was, but he was gentle and kind and warm and friendly, and everybody loved him. And
even though there was something really weird.
And David's reaction to first seeing Polly, I thought this is how he's getting back at Faith. I thought he was going to try to fuck the girl.
I mean, the night is young. So then Dan, her friend / boyfriend, comes over, and
Polly's upset.
Hang out.
Polly's upset because she runs away because she's just upset talking about this friend of hers that's dead now. She runs away, and David takes the opportunity to talk to Dan and get a little bit more information from Dan.
And Dan says, well, I was in Eaton Hall with Neil, and I didn't even recognize him when I got here. He just changed so much.
Yeah. And this is when he says, Eaton, you've heard of it, right? And it's like, everybody's heard of it.
It was in the episode before. Do you remember?
David probably went to Eton himself, if he's an Oxford man.
So then she comes down. She's like, I'm fine now. I just girled out upstairs, but I'm fine now. Let's continue our conversation. I'll make you lunch, because that's what every Oxford college co-ed does, is make lunch for men.
Yeah.
But David's got to make a phone call first. Does he call his boss? My note is exposition on the phone. Okay, I'll plod this out even longer. He might just be calling into the office and being like, we have reached the end of the episode, and at this point we are doing, like, it is just dragging it out a bit. And I'm like, oh, they're going to kill her in the street. She's going to be dead. No. They go get in their kippy car, or the Oxford equivalent.
Before we jump to that, though, in the telephone exposition, we hear him, David Audley, establish that Dan is also a target in this. Dan is also a target in this plot. Even if they don't know what the plot is, they don't know why it's happening, they know that this guy's gonna be a target. So they leave, they go get into Polly's beautiful green car, which I loved. And there's a street performer and there's all these people running around. And I was like, oh, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Blech, blech. I was so excited. It does not happen. There's a bunch of jokes about what a bad driver Polly is because she's a girl. And they drive away. And David's in the back seat with the guy's cello or large musical instrument. It doesn't matter.
They're driving along on their quaint country road or whatever, and then somebody shoots out the window. Now, at this point, Dan immediately takes control of the car and pulls them over to save them.
But even more surprising to me, the window gets shot out and it's like, cannot see through it. He starts punching through the glass so you can see immediately. He is a spy master. There's no way he is not. There's no way an average person would know to do that. So he starts punching out the glass, takes control of the car.
He pulls over. He gets out and he's like, "Some bastard shot at us with an air rifle." And it's like, what? And he's like, "I'm gonna go get him. You bastard, don't shoot at us with an air rifle." And David's finally like, "Dude, it's not an air rifle." Polly's getting out of the car. She's okay. And then she takes a shot and it's cliffhanger time.
Yeah.
But yeah, for some reason, Dan is faster in action than the funeral of MI5 guys 2 episodes ago.
Yeah.
Like, he takes care of business right away.
He knows exactly what to do in that situation. Can't see out of the windshield, smash the windshield.
He's an Eaton man. He's an Eaton man. They teach him how to do that at Eaton.
I was shocked. I was amazed. I was like, who is this guy? And get him in intelligence immediately. If he's not already.
Never going to be referred to.
Never going to
be mentioned next time. He's just a coming British man. That's how they all would act. That's how Boris Johnson would have acted. Okay, what do you think he would have done? Held up her head. Shoot her, shoot her.
I don't know. I don't know what he would have done.
So yeah, so now
that's the end. It was a really good episode. I'm glad that I didn't take a lot of notes because I really enjoyed it, and I think I had a little bit more to talk about because of that. Because I actually got to not focus on the bath scene too much, which was really unsettling. I honestly feel like I could write an essay about how unsettling that whole situation.
You've got your project for the week.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, also the whole like negotiation with the actress, where they're like, "Yeah, we want you to be tough." It's just like, I don't want to be. They're like, "You have to."
We're going to show half of your areola from the front, and we're going to show full side boob.
Do you ever want to work again? Because you have to be naked. It's 1983. You cannot work again. Harold Ramis can force you to do a nude scene. You can retire from acting, but whatever. It's fine. Everybody loves him. Cindy Morgan, Caddyshack. Everybody, look up the girl from Trump. Because guys are really shitty, especially when they have some authority, or they have power over someone else. Okay, well, on that happy note, what's the next episode called?
Next episode is called "Digging Up the Future." It's obviously going to be a continuation of this episode. Is there anybody new in it? We'll see Abigail West again.
We didn't see her this episode.
No, we saw a picture of her. Sorry.
Okay.
It looks like some people. It looks like some people coming back from previous episodes, which is weird because there wasn't much of a tie. So, Digging Up the Future.
Because there's no tie yet. Yeah.
Episode 6, the final episode. Andrew, is your soul growing a little bit watching an actual decent television show, despite the problematic nature of some of it?
It would, except I know that you're working on picking our next subject. So there's only so much potential in my soul. And It can't compete with whatever
garbage I pick.
Morton and Hayes. Morton and Hayes, The Next Generation.
Dracula the series, part 2. No, I'm definitely taking into account the number of episodes. So that whatever that cop show was yesterday that you sent to me, that's not as much as I want to watch it for all the hot old man body. I don't think we're going to watch that for the podcast.
I'm not going to watch 23 and a half hours of a 1976 TV show that
Robert Stack is in
trouble. That got in trouble for being propaganda about the LAPD in 1977.
Jesus Christ.
Think about how bad that has to be for somebody to have complained about propaganda in 1977.
Wow. Yeah. I think I'm gonna go more lady heavy episode or TV show. Something a little bit more lady heavy, which doesn't necessarily mean it's not going to be problematic because it's still been on television. But
basically what we've learned is no matter what era we pick a television show from.
Yeah. But so we'll have an announcement about what next season 7 will be. Yeah, that was fun. So Andrew, see you next time when we talk about digging up the future, and I will see you in television land.
See you in television land, Emily.
Bye-bye.